Hey guys, my name is Marta, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books of 2021. I am not going to go in any particular order because I don't know which one of these is my favorite one. I do know which ones I like the least, but I am not completely sure on which one would be on top. So I will just go in the most random order, and without further ado, let's get to this list of 15 books. The first book I'm going to talk about is In Diamond Square by mercè Rodoreda. This is a piece of Catalan modern classical fiction in which we follow Natalia from the before, the during and the after of the Spanish Civil War. It is a modernist piece of literature and the author puts a lot of emphasis on our main character's feelings. It's a book that I really enjoyed for its exploration of the psychological effects that the historical context plays upon the characters, as well as for its beautiful quotes. I would really recommend this book if you are looking to get into Catalan fiction. It's a very popular one, it's easy to read, and it is very beautifully written. Next on my list of favorites is a short piece of non-fiction, and it is Rilke's Letters to a Young Poet. This is the collection of letters that Rilke sent to this admirer of his that sent him letters asking for advice about his poems. It is a very beautiful collection of letters in which Rilke invites the reader to think about creation, about art, about living as an artist, and it is a very beautiful book that I can see myself rereading multiple times in my life. It tells a lot of very important life lessons, and it's also a very encouraging piece of work that will make you want to create something of your own. Next book on my top of favorites is Hitway by Penelope. I read this book right at the end of the summer, and it was the perfect book for that time of the year. It takes place from the beginning of the summer to the end, and in it we follow Teresa and Luke and Teresa's mother Pauline, and they all are spending the summer in this cottage. While they are there, Pauline realizes that her daughter's marriage with her husband isn't going so well. He starts to notice some things that he doesn't really get along with, so he will try her best to make her daughter come into her senses and realize what's going on. It's a book that is full of tension, a book that plays a lot with weather as a symbol of this tension that is going on in this household. It's a book that will keep you hooked from the beginning to the very end. And last but not least, it's a book that will make you question a lot of things about relationships. Next, I have a book that will for sure be on my top reads of the year, and it is Iréne nemirovsky's Feux de l'Automne, translated to English as The Fires of Autumn. This is a book set between the two world wars that, just as In Diamond Square explores the themes of war and marriages, this one is way sadder, I think, than in Diamond Square, and it really touches upon subjects like corruption. It's a very interesting novel that I really enjoyed and that made me cry multiple times because it's very devastating. It talks about loss, about war, about love. It is a very sad book, but it also has me very intrigued to read more from this author this new year. Next, I have a book that I very recently reviewed on my channel, and it is Maupassant's Bel-ami. This is a French 19th century classic in which we follow Georges Dugoy, or bel-ami, who has just come back from Algeria and is now looking to rise within the French Parisian society. He gets this job in this journal, and from that point on he will not stop to try to do his best to reach a higher position. It's a book about manipulation, about using others, about how corrupted the French society is. It's also a really funny book, and that has a really good exploration on morality and on selfishness in a way. I would really suggest you watch my review of this one if you are intrigued by it, and I will of course say that this is fantastic. Bellamy, really enjoyed it, really recommend it, and it is also a part of my top reads of the year. Next, I have a beast of a book, and it is Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. I read this for the Dickens vs. Tolstoy book club, and I don't know how to summarize my thoughts about it, so I will just say that this is a magnificent work of classical Russian fiction that really explores the cruelty of war and the effects that it has on someone's life. It is a very sad and devastating novel that, despite all of these elements of sadness, of cruelty, and of blood, has this hopeful undertone that shines through some passages. It's a very beautiful book that will make you fall in love with the characters and that will for sure make you think, and that could also potentially change your life. Speaking of big books, next I have Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. This is a piece of 19th century French literature that I think everyone knows what's about, so I just won't bother to say it. Same as War and Peace, it is a beautiful story full of hope, full of lovable characters, and filled with all of these revolutionary ideas that will teach you a lot about this time period. It is a book that might drag at some moments because Victor Hugo has to say every little detail about everything he depicts in the novel, but that doesn't make it less of a good book. It's a book that I think everyone must read at least once in their life. Next, I have what I think is the last big book on this list, and it is Le Conde de Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, or The Count of Monte Cristo in English. This is another piece of 19th century French literature. It is also the complete opposite to the two previous big books. The Count of Monte Cristo is this action-filled book in which our main character, Edmond Dantes, will take their revenge upon all these people that were the cause of him going to prison. It is a book full of action, and that, despite being over 1000 pages, will keep you entertained all the way through. It's a book that reflects a lot upon who's good and who's bad. It's a book that has very well-crafted characters that will make you either hate or love them. So, yeah, a book that I would really recommend if you are willing to read 1000 pages of this revenge adventure. Next, I have two little plays, the first one being Blasted by Serpell. This is a very violent play that I don't know how to talk about without spoiling its contents. I am thinking about doing a single book review slash video analysis of it because it has a lot of things that I would like to discuss. To sum up, this is a very violent play that takes place in this hotel room that gets blasted midway through the story, and that has these three characters at the heart of the story. Two of them will be there from the very beginning, and these two first characters will get completely dehumanized by the end of it. It is a very raw, cruel book that I don't think everyone could handle reading, so I would just say that if you want to read this play, please check the trigger warnings before doing so, because it is very violent. It touches upon a lot of themes that could be too much for some people. So yeah, Blasted. And next, the other play, which is very different and way less violent, is Rosencratz and Guildestern and Britt by Tom Stoppard. I knew before reading this one that this would be the perfect play for my taste. I would describe this play as a mix of Samuel Beckett and Shakespeare. In it we follow Rosencratz and Guildestern, who are Hamlet's friends in Shakespeare's play Hamlet, and during this play they are doing nothing but just trying to keep themselves entertained while the story that takes place in Hamlet is going on in the background. Very interesting story to read and explore. It is filled with funny, witty dialogues that are intertwined with all these existential conversations about themes like death and the purpose of one's life. It is a very enjoyable read that I really love and enjoy, and of which I am also going to upload a single review next week, I think. Next I have one of my first 5-star reads of the year, and it is Britt Bennet's The Vanishing Half. This is a book in which we follow two black sisters that are also white passing, that were born and grew up in this black neighborhood. In the present, these two sisters are living complete different lives. One of them is living as a black woman and the other one is living as a white woman. It's a very interesting book that talks a lot about race, about passing, and about family, especially focusing on sisterhood. It's a book that is very interesting to read and to explore, and it's a book that I would have loved to read for a book club or something, because I think it's a book that has a lot to say and could open a lot of very interesting conversations. It's also a pretty short novel, so please read it if you are interested, because it's fantastic and you won't regret it. Next I have another book I badly read, and it is Diop by Namwali Serpell. This is a book in which we follow 3 generations of 3 different women, and these 3 different families end up reuniting in Zambia. It is a book that talks about race, about colonization, about generations, and it's a book that is very interesting to read slowly to fully get what's going on in it. It's a book that is divided in 3 parts, each of them focusing on a different generation, and the first one is more magical realism, so it has a lot of important symbolism. The second one is more of a realist novel in which you can really get to see a critique of the social issues going on in Zambia at that moment in history. And the last one is more science fiction-y, is the one that I enjoy the least, but despite that, I think it's a book that is very worth reading. And also a very interesting and unique thing about this novel is the fact that it is narrated from the point of view of a mosquito. Pretty innovative and weird in a way, but also really interesting. Also, it really talks a lot about Zambia history, so you will get to learn a lot about that as well. Next I have a book I haven't shut up about since I read 2 months ago, and it is Agustina bezterrica's Cadáver Exquisito, or Tender is the Flesh in English. This book takes place in a dystopian society in which animals have gone extinct and now people have to feed on other humans. It's a very violent, blood-filled novel that really explores the limits of our humanity. It's a book that has a strong critique on our real world's animal breeding factories that have the purpose to kill animals to feed humans. It's a very interesting book that has a lot to say, that has a lot to explore, and that, despite being so short, will for sure shock you and make you question a lot of things about nowadays society. It's a book with characters that have lost all of his morals, and that will probably not be very likable, but that will for sure be very interesting people to read about and as subjects whose actions you could reflect upon. And last but definitely not least, because I think this one was my favorite book of the year, we have David Diop's Frères d'Armes, translated to English as At Night All Blood is Black. This is a book in which we follow a black soldier during the First World War that has just lost, that after losing his best friend and war companion, he starts to kill Germans and to collect their hands. Same as the previous book, it's a very violent, bloody book that is very hard to read, but that is at the same time mesmerizing. The writing of this novel is beautiful. The author really focuses on our main character's feelings and on his own grief. It's a book that is also very morally ambiguous and that really touches upon themes like war, like how these black soldiers that have been forgotten from history had to live during the First World War. It's a devastating novel that will fascinate you if you are interested by this type of subjects, and that I think everyone must read, because despite being very short, it is also very powerful. That was all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what was your favorite read of 2021. Comment down below if you read any of these books. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I hope you're just gonna amazing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!